and the ANC itself. From the onset, the mandate to disband the Youth League was taken by the National Executive Committee. So that meant that the ANC usurped everything and then appointed an NYTT, which was not an elected structure. So you can invite people to serve and disinvite them based on various issues. The same as we have done during the period of Mzwandile Masina, when he was actually the convener of the Youth League task team that was going to produce Pule Mabi as president. The same as we have done with Nongeba, the same as we have done with Mahambe Hlala, I even forgot, the same as we have done with Kola. And we are not going to discuss the content of the letter with the media, because it was distributed by the Youth League and Kola's response to that. We have, of course, from a point of discipline, advised Kola against that, because he's got to observe the ANC discipline in relation to the decisions that have been taken. And Kola is a very capable comrade of the ANC, and he's got a great future in our organization. And partly he has played his part to get to this point. We tend to be compromised by events. The responsibility of the ANC is to save its cadreship. They will thank us 20 years to come. If I was not saved by Khalima Mutlante, myself, thinking that I'm on the right track defending that women are paraplegic, there will be no Mbalula today. So we've got no intention to destroy any person, albeit the fact that they are on the wrong, they cross the line. But I can assure you that the ANC observe the behavior, and then where people cross the line and they are incorrigible, they insist on their wayward ways, we act. And we will not hesitate to act. We act because we must preserve the honor and the integrity of the organization. Members cannot be the voice on their own and above organizational prescripts. So we listen to members and their concerns, and we address them. So in terms of the conference now, there will be credentials, there will be presentation, and there will be nominations as it is expected today. And the preparatory committee will then have to look at the program. How do you reorganize the program based on the time we've got to cover going forward and the number of days that are actually remaining. So we have a team that we have deployed here of members of the NEC. Comrade Mzwandile, you spoke to him yesterday. He did address you. So in this particular instance, that's what has happened. Lastly, we have met with the Youth League National Task Team. They are divided at the end. So we advise them that, look, this thing is not dependent on you. We know that they have raised accusations against the ANC interference and all of that. That's a distortion of facts, because the ANC did not interfere. We told them from the onset that this process belonged to the ANC and them. We appointed the NWTT, they didn't, we imposed it on them. It is based on the experience we have heard that every time the conference has got to convene, when they arrive here, they fight among themselves. The people who are coming to you and complain today, they were enemies before, but they've aligned each other because they realize that their interest in terms of the outcome both are not serviced. And the pity about the whole situation is that some of these comrades are old in terms of age. We gave them, some of them are young, which must be preserved to lead in the Youth League. They are very talented. So if you divide the youth with a task that the ANC has given you, you are going to compromise political talent. They are very capable young people in this NYTT who were elected subsequent to that in the ANC NEC. And we have since interacted with them, Zuko is one of them, very talented politically. He's elected in the ANC. We've given him tasks in the ANC. He's a deputy of the Economic Transformation Committee, which is a big task in the organization. So we said, if the youth want you, it's fine, but let's look into the future, and I think we're very clear about that. And so he has not been persuaded otherwise, other than to be encouraged to focus on the task, because we're still going to give him a lot of tasks in the organization. So I'm just clarifying these issues to understand that this is the ANC conference. There's no doubt about it. The next conference will be the conference of the Youth League. And that's why I said to them, as I was addressing, that we surrender the Youth League to them today. And that's what we're doing. So the issues of autonomy, fiddling, and all of that, they are out of question. We assigned Comrade Mdu, who has generally been abused and bad-mouthed, to lead this task of interacting with the Youth League, from the task of him being assigned the responsibility for organizing department. So in the process himself, he has actually been attacked by those who believe that it doesn't serve them well and all of that. But we don't look into that. We look in terms of facts, and they've told you all of those things. So that's why I'm saying the coordinator of the NYTT will answer to that, including Comrade Mdu, once the report is presented, about all the issues that relate to audits, how they were conducted, what happens. It is likely that those issues will be raised in plenary. Some comrades have arrived at the conclusion that this conference must not continue. I wish to assure you we don't share that perspective with them. Because there are reasons that can make you to discontinue a conference. And I don't want to argue them now. From the look of things, it looked like they're determined to do it, including in a manner that seeks to undermine the integrity of the ANC. And that's why I was raising the issue about discipline. Comrades must respect an order in the organization. You can't come to the conference if you've got a view that is illegitimate. Mobilize Youth League people. When Malema was elected in Mangaung, was horror movie. ANC members must learn to raise issues organizationally. Doesn't mean that the organization will turn a blind eye on that. Long after this conference, those issues will be looked at in terms of convening the conference of this nature. If the Youth League comes out of this, and like Fashia presented the political report, I think you can see that there is a future there. And we want that because it then brings and breathes life to the African National Congress. The Youth League keep on harping on the point of ensuring that the ANC does not degenerate ideologically and otherwise. The ANC is kept on its toes. Leadership is not too comfortable on its positions. But the Youth League, for them to play that particular role, they must be insulated from ANC dangers. What are those dangers? Dangers of manipulation by the leadership, dangers of being cajoled. Because all what ANC people are interested in as leaders is to have their own drum majorette, not the Youth League that can think and breathe life to the African National Congress. That's what we want in terms of this conference. It is very important. This conference, the same as the Women's League conference, is coming as well, and all structures of the MDM, they must be organized. The Youth League should be sitting here debating matters of the youth and what it seeks to do to intervene on those issues. And This conference in itself, with all its imperfections, it's not perfect, should be in a position to take us forward when it comes to championing the interest of young people. I wish to pause there.
Thanks very much, SG. I think let's just go over to Marcia immediately.
Thank you very much, Comrade JP, and of course to the Secretary General, to yourselves. I know it's been quite a while. At least we've opened the conference, and up to now we've sort of gotten the train moving. I think once the train starts to move, it's going to move quite quickly. It was just a matter of getting it there. Thank you very much, Comrade SG. I think there's a few important points that must be noted from the political report that has just been delivered to the National Conference. The first is that this is the first political report, I think, in the last 10 years, close to a decade. There's some debate about whether it's 8 years or 10 years, but we'll just say in close to a decade that we haven't really had a political report from a youth grouping that is structural and institutionalized in the ANC. So that's the first thing. The second thing that I think is fundamentally important, especially in terms of messaging and the kinds of ideas of renewal that we're trying to get across, is this is the first political report that was presented by a woman, really espousing the ideas also of non-racialism, non-sexism. So it really is a part of this process that we're trying to push as the Youth League to say, well, it can't just be in name, especially as a youth grouping. We need to push even further. So I think those are the first two important points. But in terms of the topics, I think members of the media will have covered it, but very importantly, renewal and the fact that the Youth League is central to that process. The autonomy of the Youth League, which is going to be a very big theme, I think, of this conference, given the fact that we've only had some version of a task team for the last 8 or 10 years. And that's really going to be something I think that delegates in particular are going to be fighting about. And I think you might even see it come out in some of those constitutional amendments and some of those plenary discussions. There was also a big focus on the economy, youth unemployment. I think everybody was in the room when we asked to see how many young people, even at this particular conference, were unemployed. And those hands spoke for themselves. And I think that was a very, very powerful message from this conference that nobody is insulated from this crisis. The issue of youth unemployment is one. Can move it a bit closer. The issue of youth unemployment is one that we can't run away from. It's one that is very much keeping us up at night, and it should keep the leadership of the country, the leadership of the Youth League up at night until we can find proper solutions. We also spoke to the nationalization for industrialization, so that's very important. It's not nationalized for the sake of nationalizing. That must have a particular goal that results in economic opportunity and economic development. We covered a number of different social issues, which members of the media can see in the report. We dealt with non-racialism. Importantly, also on the balance of forces. Russia and Ukraine was also addressed. That's also been a big topic in the media around the Youth League, and I think it's been clarified in terms of our position. We also spoke around conflicts impacting South Africa and Africa, which has often fallen behind, especially in global news narratives. And then something new to the Youth League, or it shouldn't be, but now that we had the space, is around climate change and climate justice. And we really want young people to be at the forefront of that kind of activism. All activism, of course, is related, as all struggle is also related, but we also want young people in the country, not just in the Youth League, but in the country, to not just have stances against or how we manage climate change, but say that we're going to be forefront of that agenda, and I think that's very, very important. We also dealt with the energy mix and some of our ideas as young people about what we think needs to happen. And that's going to be a big conversation as well in our commissions about what we think needs to go on. And then, of course, elections, which is impending. We're looking at that in 2024, and a huge call to action from us as the Youth League. Yes, we are a task team, soon to be hopefully elected, but a huge call to action for young people in this country to register to vote. If we are able to register more and more young people, we fundamentally change the voters' role. It means we also have more bargaining power and more that we can go to the ANC leadership and say, well, actually, if you want to win this election, young people need to be centre front. So that's also been a big thing that we focused on. And I think ultimately the real walkaway here is young people are yearning for the kind of politics to be put back into the Youth League. So while our primary task is to elect leadership, it's also about putting the politics back. And I think that's very, very important, because we can elect, and if we don't have the right kind of political backing or political understanding as to why, how, when, etc., then are we truly rebuilding and reviving the Youth League? And I think that's quite important, and that is why it was important to have such a strong political report that can shape this conference and of course feed into the theme of economic freedom. Comrade JP, I'll hand over.
Thank you very much. I just want to address two quick issues. I think yesterday there was an appeal, and we undertook that we will provide members of the media with facts with regard to the accreditation of government. I'm happy to say that we are now in possession of a letter which can be shown, not shared, from the net joint, which is a security letter that indicates that those that will interact closely with the leadership of government will be accredited by the state institutions. So that's why members of the media, as you know, have been accredited as such. So we do have that letter. Those who want to see, like Thomas's, we were here to show that letter today. The second thing that I wanted to address is that there has been allegations on the leagues and people who are going to boycott conference. All the names that were mentioned in the interviews that we conducted during the day, those comments are inside the plenary. So we just wanted to make sure that that rumor is also laid to rest. Those are the two critical issues that I thought I must address because it's a day of the SG and our deputy convener. Thank you.
Okay, can I just get an indication of hands, please, so we get a sense of how we navigate this? I only see one from Lizega. It means, okay. There's another one. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Those are the only hands. Because I'm not going to go for another round if that's it. Yeah? So if we can please just, I'm going to, please keep your number. Because it's 1, 2, I guess too many hands now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, let's just take all 6. 7 hands. Okay, let me take the first 4. 1, just come again, please. So this I can start with the 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we take the remaining 3. Please go ahead.
Thank you. This is Gatano from.
Just switch it on.
This is Gatano. Can you hear me? Thank you.
Lisa Gatandwa from the Mail and Guardian. A couple of questions for the Secretary General as well as Fasiha. Mr. Balula, can we get a reaction from you on the death of Mr. Glenn Agliotti? He passed away today.
Of?
Glenn Agliotti. As well as
Sinanduna kwenza no Agliotti. May his soul rest in peace.
And also, Nobala, in terms of what you said, I'm only asking because you said it at plenary when you were addressing the Youth League. You spoke about 2027 and this narrative that you were trying to contest the 2027 elections. Are you saying at this point, or are you suggesting that you will not be contesting that position of president in 2027? Fasiha, you spoke about the Ukraine's sovereignty and the confusion around Russia and the old USSR. Do you think, as the Youth League, that the ANC is misguided in their loyalty to Russia in those terms? And also, in terms of the youth unemployment, have you spoken about strategic ministries that you think maybe should be handled by the Youth League? I think, for instance, ministries that come to mind is small business, ministries that come to mind are women and children and people with disabilities. Have you engaged on that, or will you be engaging on that? Thank you so much.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
Norman Masumweni from City Press. SG, my question relates to you spoke about the issue of having many reasons for the conference to be discontinued. What interventions, because if you look the 2 days have passed, nothing was done. As the ANC, looking at all those challenges, what kind of intervention did you implement to make sure that this conference proceeds and it doesn't turn into a consultative conference or anything else like that, so that you have a newly elected leadership of the ANC Youth League? Perhaps the second question also relates to all those incidents that took place, especially the abuse on the ANC deployee, Mr. Manana. What are you doing about it? Are you taking actions? Is there, actions that you have already kickstarted so that you address those kind of abuse? Yeah, thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Tando Mayengo from the Business Day. To the SG, you mentioned how the party welcomes the report by the Public Protector into Phala. Do you think that because the President has been cleared, it is enough to sway public perception of the President ahead of the 2024 elections, public perception on corruption and money laundering and all of the things that have been raised previously? And then to Fasia, in your political report, you mentioned climate change and the just energy transition, and how because South Africa is still reliant on coal, and how that industry supports so many jobs, that we should not be rushed into the just energy transition. Do you think that South Africa has perhaps been rushed by its Western trade partners into abandoning the mineral and going for renewables instead? Thank you.
Okay, I think SG, we should take just those sorts of questions and can lead us and refer those who wish to refer to that conversation.
Lizeka on Agrioti, may his soul rest in peace. That's all we can say. On the 2027 elections of ANC, what I was saying to the youth of the ANC on behalf of our National Executive Committee is that they must not be preoccupied about things that they've got complete power over them. And those issues will only be dealt with in 2027. So there's no need for the Youth League to obsess with 2027 leadership, because President Ramaphosa's second term is coming to a close, and then in 2027 there's going to be a succession debate in the ANC. We're still far from that. We know there are overzealous groups and people who like this topic to dominate the agenda. Those people don't understand dialectics and the laws of nature about space and time. You know, that this is not the time to be debating who's the next president when the president is not dead. If anything were to happen with the president and with doomsayers and naysayers, President Ramaphosa has got a deputy called Paul Mashatile, who will be in a position to get into his shoes if anything were to happen to the president. That's a fact. He's deputizing for that reason. So why should there be a hullabaloo about it as though the world is falling apart? Mashatile himself understands that as our deputy president, that the ANC next national conference, it will be the same as this one we have just come from. He understands that perfectly. But why should members of the ANC have a preoccupation about what will happen? And secondly, we have always said that we believe in our president. And we believe that the president will pass the test of time. in relation to these particular matters, but we have not gone deeper in terms of these issues because we don't want to contaminate the law enforcement, because there's no reason to do that, because we've got our own processes as the ANC that we follow when we are confronted with issues that affect our leaders, the same as they have affected Mahashule or any other leader of the ANC. So I was saying to the youth of the ANC, do not preoccupy yourself about ANC positions as your program of action. Here is the youth. They need your voice. Education, job creation. That's where you are needed. Not that who becomes the leader of the ANC in future. That we will resolve. It's not a major, monumental political issue that we can't resolve. Look, it's a subjective matter. We can resolve it. It's our own. I convince Fasia to vote for me, she will. Branches don't agree with me on the other side, I lose. It is an ANC internal process, it will be resolved. I choose not to contest. It's still a position, it's an internal ANC process that we are in full control of. What we are not in control of is what happens globally in terms of the economic situation and the impact it has on our economy, which affect our people and eventually affect sectors like the youth in terms of job creation. That's the fundamental issue. So I couldn't tell the youth a lie that it is correct for you to embark on that path at the present. When you see Mbalula, you say he's the future. And then you are the one that we love. They may love me, including for the future, but Mbalula cannot participate in such a negative and denigrating discussion and holding back the ANC in its full potential to respond to the challenges of our people, because I want to be everything at all costs. I'm elected, I'm Secretary General, I must do my job. And that is why I said that the day we fit that into our minds, I will then forget why structures elected me as SG, which is an important issue. Now, I will not smell good and nice to those who wanted certain things out of this conference and they perceive me as the SG not to be on their side. And I don't have a problem with that. But everybody must understand that to cross the line and undermine the party from the point of discipline, we will not hesitate. So, leave this issue. Besides it being too early for it, leave it. We've got a battle to embark upon. We've got a war to win, 2024. That's what is important and fundamental. Now, if you come here to this youth because they sing about you and others don't, and then, you feel temporarily that you are mini Jesus, you are misleading yourself and you are misleading the youth. We've got the responsibility to tell the truth, even if the truth is against us. And many people snoganize about these issues, but when it is time to practice, they don't. And that is what is required of us in terms of leadership. And that is the point I was referring to about 2027, because it looms large when people justify why certain things are not in their favor. The Youth League would have long gone to a conference. One time Nomvula came ready, speak and spend. Conference is ready, it's ready to sit. All I need is money. Everything lined up. The youth went to canvass ANC elders in the NEC that this conference must be postponed, because those that time who were placed in terms of their proximity close to the leadership manipulated that space to favor them. And the Youth League could not go to a conference. I can tell you right now, if this conference were to collapse, it doesn't happen, the same people who are opposed for it continuing, you bring them back, they will differ among themselves about who must lead. I can tell you right now. They will differ. They've been differing, even those. They've been on the other side. They will coalesce and agree on one point. They hold the leadership at random because the leadership is vulnerable. Because leadership want to be elected at conference. So they don't want to tamper with things. I guess if Nomvula at that time tampered with things which she did not have the power. She was not DSG, she was nothing. She was just the head of organizing. And then she tampered with things. She would have risked being elected here. So she had to go to Youth League money here. But a lot of work has been covered. And even then, the work was imperfect. The same as it is not totally perfect like right now. It is not. If I can come to you and tell the youth there in the conference that this conference we are organizing is speak and span is without problems, I'll be telling them a lie. But the most fundamental question is that, are you courageous? Are you able to convene? Even us in the ANC, I go to provinces, people say to me in my face, I was blocked from attending a conference. I was a legit delegate. That time the conference has long passed. Even here, you will still have people who say that they are legit. Even those who went and disrupted the registration came and blocked it from a bogus conference, which we told them it is bogus in the Eastern Cape. They believe that they are legit. What do you do as a leader when you are confronted with that? You please everybody. The ANC will collapse, my brother. I can tell you. This organization will collapse. We might as well wash hands and say, we are just stooges there. We behave like leadership. We are not leadership. That's what we must accept. That we betrayed 4,000 delegates who elected us here with greater expectation that they are electing leaders, they are electing stooges. And that they are electing the Tutzela. And there's this Tutzela, you don't know English. What is it? Oh, they were electing zombies here who masquerade as leaders. They are not leaders. Leaders of the ANC must desist from being so entangled in this. And I like leaders of the ANC who have said to me, SG, I've received this report, but I leave it to you because you know better. But the youth have come to me and complained. I respect such comrades. I don't respect comrades who go and say to the youth, go, for whose? When I'm 35, I'm 38, I collapse a youth league conference and I'm an REC member of the youth league, of the ANC. I'm a PC member. For whose interest am I doing that? Let's say the point you've got a point. For who and why? Because elect the leadership with imperfections, nurture it, allow it to grow. 8 years, this youth league could not convene. Eight. He could not convene, and then next month he convened. Because there was nothing wrong with that conference. It was politics again. Leadership was being lobbied to say Mzwandile convened a bogus conference. When Kule could have been president. That spokesperson of ours, we will be referring to him now as former president of the youth league. He could not. Gossip efana nale Zeka engabambekile. Gossip yafika ku leadership. And leadership coward. And then they told the leadership that if you think that Julius is a picnic, this thing you are going to elect called Pulemabe, he is something else. He's a tornado.
They replaced me with you.
And then they replaced him with me. I delivered. I delivered the conference. So Mina was never disbanded. Even if the product of that conference was weak or stronger, right? I owed up to it because I was deployed. These young people must be taught the ANC. They don't understand. They don't understand. Including the ones we gave the NYTT to lead. They don't understand the organizational mandate. We bamba gute and complain after. Like me, I complain now. I've got freedom to complain. But it's not like that product, was perfect. It was not. I was insulted. How do you allow this? Lamula was there. When I went to talk to Lamula, ube feeling at him when I understood him, We are on, and he knew that, look, this was my time. But we had to get the conference going and went back with a report to the ANC that this has happened. It will never convene this conference of the Youth League if we were to go according to standards of these people who want to collapse the ANC at any given point in time. If Nomvula then was given a right to convene, we will probably be dealing with a leadership of the Youth League that is proper and that has proven itself that it is okay. But it did not happen because leadership was canvassed. We've got to put our foot down, and this is what is going to happen. And if it collapses, it must collapse not because we did not. And those who are going to do that, they must be ready. There will be no retreat. There will be no retreat on the issue of discipline. And we've got them. We know the people who are fueling all of these things. You see, because I explained to some of them that this thing that to lead is a privilege. It's not a given. It's not a given. That you lead a structure there temporarily, it's a given. It is not a given. The delays in terms of the conference, there are many reasons why there were delays. First and foremost, the experience of just convening a conference. It is just not there. Comrades struggled, you know, but I don't want to blame these young comrades and then absolve ourselves. Ourselves as the ANC, there's something we need to do drastic. With all the experience I've gained over the years in running the Youth League and the ANC, this thing of registration and registering people in conferences, it must be something of the past. It can't be we live in a world globally where everybody uses IT and we've got specialists and companies. To register people should be ABC. You've got name tags and so on. If I can tell you glitches of this registration, it's not major. It's that the machine is hot up. You laugh at us. An organization like the ANC, the machine in terms of laminator, Zifile, Zindapi, you register 4,000 people with 2 laminators. I mean, really, what is that? It's a scandal. It's a mess. It's incompetence. In government, I would have dismissed you, including in the ANC, the people who did that thing. No, we can't be proud of that. It's incompetence. You repeat incompetence. You repeat incompetence, knowing very well that there is a mass of people who are coming there with problems. And some of them are going to claim that they are delegates when they are not. They are coming. You know that they are coming. You're not ready with administration. What's that? Now I can't stand here like a headache, like I cry about problems, I don't resolve them. It's my job to resolve that problem. It is the ANC National Conference, it has proven us that there is incompetence in that department. It's the Youth League, the Women's League is coming. And every time these poor guys must come and tell lies to you, maybe manage you. Hey, no, we're resolving this thing. And then in the meantime, what do? You listen to this gossip of people who are contesting. That's what happens. The fact of the matter is that efficiency, efficiency is very important. Yeah. No, look, any leader will be abused. Even myself, I was abused today. There are people who try to pull me inside. I'm not afraid of that. I expect it all the time. But they must know the person they've elected. They've seen part of it. They've seen part of it. The person they've elected is the one who will stick with the rules and will respect them as comrades and so on. And I will never bend on people who deface the ANC till the day I leave. I will work with the collective. I report to the officials. I reported to them the behavior and everything. I report to them. It's my collective. President respect me, I respect them. Deputy President respect me, I respect them. I don't act alone. I'm accountable. And where I encounter problems, I must report to them. They will even come with wisdom. And they did that. They guided the process and me to say, SG, continue but in this way. So I don't act alone. I'm not Hitler. You know, I don't act alone. but I act on the basis of what is before me. Even this morning, I'm not at the Alliance Summit, President, and he said, hey, you know, because we're debating important, I'm the only one who's not there. I'm here. President gave it. So from here, I must go to that summit. Now, I must come and listen to people who have delayed and who want to collapse us. We must smile with them because they are young, they are collapsing processes, they do as they wish. We will never do that. We'll never do that. I will go to the officials. If there's a need that and the NWC and the NEC that I charge people on behalf of the ANC, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. Those who are responsible to bring us down, I will never fight a comrade who comes and say, SG, here is a complaint. What you do about it, we file it to you. But I leave it there. And then you process it. And then we look at it like word for word. Now, tell me, how do you respond to anarchy? People who tell you in the meeting of the ANC, as the Secretary General, where to get off. Who else will they respect? These are characters who are giving us a bad name there in public. Matsamaya mapuna puna, badula batauwe koditrateng and all of that. They tell us in the meeting, these are the people who have appointed in the NYTT, who tell ANC leadership or ASG this and that. These are the people who are there. You know the Youth League, as I conclude on that point, Mzwandile knows this. They were dismissed, among others, for just knocking at the door of the officials. Mandage dismissed them in the organization. They were dealt with and so on. And that's what happened.
Thank you.
You see. So, for badging, you can't badge. 2, they stormed the stage. At the NGC, they sang, Zwandile was there. They sang, and then they stormed the stage. That time we supported them. Hey, no man, there was no storming. Now I'm SG, people are storming at me. What do I do with these people who are storming at me? Then it goes on, the party goes on, anarchy goes on. We can't do that. This anarchy here is going to the branches, it comes from the branches. It goes. And what name does it give to the ANC? It gives the ANC a bad name. Comrades must raise their issues and speak and be disciplined, and then they may not win everything, but they must be disciplined. Tando, last point about the public protector. We will issue a detailed statement post this press conference on the public protector's report. We will issue a statement today after this press conference on that matter. We observe and respect the report of the public protector, but we are dismayed by people who insult Koleka personally for having exercised a mandate as a public protector. If they feel that the report is weak, is whatever, but they've got no right to insult that woman at the personal level. And then the office of the public protector. Public decisions can be taken on review. If public protector rules against me as Mbalula, against Ramaphosa as a president, the president can take the public protector's report on review. The DA says they will take the report, I've seen that, on review. Fine. They are allowed to do that. Why should we fight them over that? If they feel deeply that the report is flawed, like they say. From our side, we'll issue a detailed statement. We welcome the report of the public protector, and we welcome it. From the side of the president has stated that he's innocent, and he is subjected. But from our side as the ANC, it's exactly what we have said, that the reason we have behaved the way we did and took the posture we took in Parliament is because there are processes that have been followed in terms of law enforcement. Other people believe that those processes probably there is nothing to hope for out of them, but allow those processes to conclude. I can imagine now if the public protector would have said Ramaphosa is guilty, and Ramaphosa says, as the president and as Ramaphosa, that I'm taking this report on review. What will be the case? There will be a big debate. 2. The public protector says we find no evidence. Now, public protector take a decision on the basis of people who came to her and made submissions. Now, Mbalula, who did not make any submission, who's got feelings that the president must be found guilty. Why should I listen to that person? I will listen to a judge who will preside over that report, and the public protector defending the report in a court of law. That I was right because of this and that. Let's observe that. It's a democratic process. It's a process of our jurisprudence. It says the president is exonerated. It doesn't say there. It's very clear. It doesn't say but. Sana Daiboni reported decisive in generally. Very decisive. Zikoni reported it, but we suspect. It is very clear that this and that is unsubstantiated. That's the report. It says this thing was not substantiated. You know, when you are in a beer hall, you know, or in a tavern or in a beer hall, you arrive sober, you live in a particular state, and you try to speak to somebody there, you talk past each other in a beer hall because there is music. Besides music, your state of stability in terms of thinking make you to think faster or slower. And alcohol slows down your thinking capacity. You know, the other day, cops shot each other. And I don't want to say it's alcohol, but I've never seen such rowdy behavior. Somebody who must have petty to a gun, you must respect the gun. I mean, that man who is dead. The other one now he must answer. He's tubula. There's nothing wrong in the way when he has parked in a place when you or a restaurant me bro. Dicela ukhupha imoto yakho ngoba ndiyaphuma manje. Uyabona? Samkele aphume ndihambe. There's no reason to fight about that. What happened to civilization? Nide nife madoda etywaleni nishiya abantwana. Nife nihamba neefamily zenu. It's like my wife ndihamba naye ndiphoswa ngamahashi today ngenxa ye-youth league. Ndiye naye ku-Durban July nozwayi. Masifika abantwana bangikhulule nomfazi wami siye emahashini ngibuya nisisidumbu. That man, I mean, it's sad, and that must be an education to our people. Ukuthi, can you be civilized, guys? Sanunxelwa zizidubula, illegal or legal. Stubula is something you respect. You don't just take it out. Hey, you take it out in self-defense. Ukuthi manje ukufa sekuqonqoza emnyango. I must now respond. When your power mutazen because you've got this thing called a gun. So we must behave as a nation and people and so on. Nobody says don't attack the public protector, expose her if you believe she's wrong, no problem. But our constitution defends the right of everybody to do their work and so on. And that is it. Mkhwebana lost how many cases? This is what I said today. Countless. But I've never seen South Africa said Mkhwebana cannot address us here. Or Mkhwebana cannot do this there. Mkhwebana has been challenged in a court of law and defeated and exposed in terms of the court of law to a point where she could be defined as delinquent. You see, a repetitive person who loses the law, who's in charge of the law, who loses after interest of people. She was challenged in a court of law. ANC will not defend the public protector for being taken on by the people who believe that the report is flawed or whatever that it is that they believe in. But we respect the outcome, and we respect the fact that it ruled in favor of our president, because it then affirmed what the president himself has said, that he believes in his innocence. So anyone else, really, they must be online to go to court as it is provided in the Public Protectors Act. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. We slightly challenged you.